Swiss watches really made in China? I went to Shenzhen to find out.
Most Swiss watches are actually made in China, and the reason that replicas often look just as good as the original is that they are made in the same factory. Let me explain what the Swiss companies do to kind of squeeze you out of.
Guys, Rolex is allegedly freaking out right now. Word on the street is they're slashing prices on their luxury watches, and no, it's not because they've suddenly decided to be nice. The real tea? Chinese manufacturers are exposing the luxury watch industry, and they're coming with receipts. Turns out a bunch of those so-called Swiss-made watches, yep, even your favorite Rolex models, have parts made in China. This bombshell has gone viral on TikTok, with leaked factory videos. Pulling back the curtain on the whole game, insider whistleblowers are spilling, shady factory deals are getting exposed, and now these big brands are scrambling to save face before their whole exclusive image comes crashing down. Y'all better buckle up as I spill the tea on how Rolex has allegedly been making millions on products they only spend a couple $100 to produce. This mess could be the end of the Rolex brand as we know it. Now, let's talk about that luxury watch on your wrist. The one you dropped a down payment worth of cash on because Swiss craftsmanship is everything. That $20,000 Rolex. The Patek Philippe you flex on special occasions. Yeah, about that. The fantasy they sold us. Snowy alpine workshops, gray-haired artisans hand-assembling each gear with precision. It's crumbling faster than a counterfeit Birkin bag stitching. Because the truth, the real watch capital of the world isn't Geneva. It's Shenzhen, China, and the industry's dirtiest secret just got exposed in the messiest way possible. Picture this: fluorescent lit factories pumping out near-identical replicas right next to authentic parts. TikTok teardowns proving the only difference is the logo stamped at the end. Swiss brands are scrambling as their century-old marketing facade cracks. Rolex just slashed prices. Panic move. While insiders are whispering that Swiss aid is just a legal loophole, only 60% Swiss labor required. The rest outsourced to the same factories making your AirPod knockoffs. Here's the kicker. Some Chinese manufacturers have had enough. They're spilling everything. How luxury brands quietly source cases, dials, even movements from them, then perform theatrical final touches in Switzerland to justify the markup. That $15,000 watch might have cost $500 to produce, but the real crime isn't the outsourcing. It's the gaslighting. For decades, they had us believing we were paying for artistry, when really we were funding a marketing myth. Okay, but let's get real for a second. Where does your luxury watch actually come from? Is that $20,000 Rolex on your wrist really a handcrafted Swiss masterpiece? Or did it low-key get born inside a bright, buzzing factory in China, right next to 5,000 others rolling off the same line? Because, y'all, the way Chinese manufacturers are airing out the luxury watch industry right now is beyond messy. When you think Swiss-made, you're imagining a bespoke factory in Switzerland with mountains in the background, artisans working really hard to create exquisite timepieces. That's not the case. Almost every component of most Swiss watches is made in China, and these are major brands. Omega, Tag Heuer, Tissot, all of them do most of their manufacturing in China and don't tell you. So how do they get away with calling it Swiss aid if most of it's made in China? Well, there's a little loophole in Swiss manufacturing laws. As long as 60% of the total cost of construction happens in Switzerland, they can call it Swiss aid. But think about how it works in China. Manufacturing doesn't cost much. Almost all of the movement, the thing that makes it tick, is done in China. Then they'll take one component that might be a bit more expensive, like the rotor, the thing that makes it automatically wind, slap that on, and make sure that's 60% of the cost. Now, it also has to be manufactured in Switzerland, but what does that really mean? It just means they slap a little crystal on here, the lens of the watch, and add the rotor at the back. As long as it's assembled in Switzerland, they can call it a Swiss watch. You see the whispers? Yeah, they've turned into full-on confessions. TikTok unboxings are getting bolder by the day. Factories in Shenzhen? They're done staying quiet. And what they're spilling, well, even Switzerland can't gaslight their way out of this one. It's gotten so loud, undeniable, and embarrassing that Rolex just hit the panic button and announced a massive price drop on some of their pieces. And the streets shook. But before we dive into the receipts, the drama, and all the shady loopholes they've been using for years, let's start at the real heart of this scandal. Let's take a little trip. Spoiler alert, the true watch capital of the world? Yeah, it's not Switzerland. So let's get into the real mess. Picture this: a factory in Shenzhen cranking out Omega's case, bracelet, dial. Sometimes they even ship it fully assembled. Then some guy in Switzerland pops in a movement, gives it a little polish, and boom. Magically, it's Swiss-Aid. That's the trick. That's the game. So, yeah, you're out here paying $6,000 for a watch that's basically China-built, but gets blessed and baptized in Switzerland. And thanks to a fat marketing budget, it turns into a luxury piece with a 4-figure price tag. And don't get it twisted, this ain't new. The entire luxury world is playing this dirty little game. At first, it was whispered on shady Reddit threads, then it leaked into TikTok. And now, allegedly, ex-industry folks are coming out like it's a whole true crime documentary. And what they're spilling is insane. One dude who worked for a top Swiss brand said he got fired just for asking too many questions. He was restoring vintage watches from the 70s and found out even back then half the parts were already being pumped out of Asia. Swiss watches, actually made in China. And the reason replicas often look just as good as the original? Because they're made in the same factories. Let me explain what Swiss companies do to squeeze you out of money. When you think Swiss-made, you're imagining a boutique factory in Switzerland, artisans crafting masterpieces by hand in snow-capped workshops. That's not it. They make almost every component of Swiss watches in China. And these are huge brands: Omega, Tag Heuer, Tissot, doing most of their manufacturing in China without telling you. So how do they get away with calling it Swiss-Aid? It's a loophole in Swiss law. 60% of the total cost has to happen in Switzerland. The rest can be outsourced. The movements, made in China. And they'll just slap a Swiss rotor on it and boom, they've got a Swiss-made watch. So, has the mainstream media blown this up yet? Simple answer: the luxury watch industry's got deep pockets. Magazines, they're swimming in Rolex, Omega, Cartier ad money. Do you really think they're going to bite the hand that's paying their bills? Please. And those watch bloggers, even. Messier, getting flown out to Basel World, gifted watches, wined, dined, pampered at brand events. These influencers are allegedly paid to keep it cute and protect the fantasy. Ain't nobody risking their next free Rolex to drop the real receipts. So now it's up to the little guys, the YouTubers, TikTokers, and anonymous factory workers to snatch back the curtain and show y'all what's really going down behind. The luxury glow-up. And guess what? After years of acting untouchable, Rolex just slipped up quietly. They started dropping prices. Not across the board, but enough for people to go, "Wait, y'all good?" Reports from watch forums and luxury dealers say some Rolex models have seen up to a 20% price cut in certain markets. And it's not random. They're slashing prices on models the replica market is flooding right now. The Submariner, GMT Master 2, and even some Oyster Perpetuals. So, yeah, when the kings of exclusivity start slashing prices, that's when you know the block is hot. Now, don't get it twisted. Rolex didn't blast this out in an ad campaign. Nah, they played it slick. These price drops, quiet, subtle, allegedly. It's been mostly happening through authorized dealers in select markets. But the watch nerds, the price trackers, oh, they clocked it immediately. And guess what tipped them off? Right after a Chinese exposé went viral showing Rolex-style cases and bezels getting boxed and shipped by the thousands from a warehouse in Guangdong. That's when Rolex allegedly decided it was time to adjust prices. Because, listen, luxury brands don't cut prices just because they're feeling generous. Especially not Rolex, a brand that literally survives off creating artificial scarcity and flexing exclusivity. So for them to quietly start discounting pieces right in the middle of a global supply chain scandal, yeah, that's when you know. They're shook. Here's the real tea. The whole illusion of luxury only works if the product feels rare, mysterious, and out of reach. But now that veil has been lifted, and the people? Baby, they're ordering direct. I'm talking private Telegram groups, WeChat chats connecting whole factories in Shenzhen, selling custom luxury builds for a fraction of the retail price. And the gag? They're not even calling them replicas anymore. They're using phrases like factory grade, homage, same line release, parallel build, unbranded OEM. Basically, we made it, but we legally can't say we made it for Rolex. One whistleblower even claimed that some Chinese suppliers get extra materials from official brand orders, and instead of trashing the leftovers, they finish the watches and sell them under the table. Not fakes, not knockoffs. The same thing, just without that final Rolex inspection stamp. Now, here's another piece they don't want you to know. Luxury groups like Swatch, Omega, Richemont, Cartier, IWC, and LVMH. Their profit margins usually float between 10% and 20%. So, yeah, they're rich, but not evil billionaire in a volcano lair. Rich. Compare that to the real villains. Apple with 32% margins, Microsoft and Novo Nordisk with a wild 39%. Suddenly, that $15,000 Rolex doesn't feel so outrageous, does it? But before you go giving Rolex a sympathy hug, hold up. They're still eating. Like they stay booked, busy, and private. Plot twist. Rolex is technically a non-profit foundation, so they don't even have to share financials. So, yeah, they're wealthy, just not cartoon villains stroking white cats in Swiss castles. Now, let's get to the real question. What does it actually cost to make one of these watches? Industry insiders say a watch that retails for $6,000 might only cost $1,200 to $1,500 to produce. That's less than 25% of the sticker price. And don't forget the markup. Dealers take a cut, and brands bake in prestige pricing just to keep the flex alive. Some brands are a little more honest about it. Christopher Ward caps their prices at 3 times production cost. Omega? About 4x. Rolex? Experts say it's 5 times or more. So, yeah, you're not just buying a watch, you're buying into the machine behind it. But here's the thing. Not everything that looks expensive actually is. That $60 Rolex you grabbed off Telegram on a quick IG story? Sure, it passes. Under soft lighting, she eats. But let's not lie. The insides. It's giving Dollar Tree with dreams. By the way, no shade to the budget babes, but facts are facts. The movements. Loud, wrong, and nowhere close to that buttery sweep of a real automatic. Water resistance. Sis, it fogs up just from humid air. Metals? Cheap alloys that scratch if you look at them wrong. Finishing? Baby, it's not hand-polished in Switzerland. Okay, here's the big question everyone asks once they fall down this rabbit hole. Are luxury watches really overpriced? And the answer, it's complicated. If you walk in thinking you're buying pure craftsmanship, innovation, and heritage, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment. A lot of brands? They're slapping together pre-made parts, doubling the price and letting the logo do the heavy lifting. That's the game. But, and this is a big but, if you know what you're actually paying for, it hits different. You're not just buying metal and glass, you're buying access, status. That feeling when you walk into a room and people clock what's on your wrist? That flex, to some folks, that's priceless. So, is it overpriced? Technically, sure. Emotionally? Depends on how it makes you feel. Once you know the truth behind the price, you get to decide if it's worth it. That's the real power. Not the watch, not the brand. You. Anyways, what do y'all think about this whole scandal? Is it still worth it to buy a Rolex? Let me know your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos to stay up to date with all the latest tea. Till next time, bye.